All right, Shalom. First off, I'm going to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakodash. Yahweh being the Heavenly Father's true name, Yahweh Shai being the name of His only begotten Son. Double honors unto the elders and the apostles, the great millstone who rule well and teach well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to all you walking throughout the four corners of the earth, continuing to push and do the works in truth and in sincerity. All right, this is the brother Mashah, my young one of the men here with the GMS branch out here in the morning camp. Here with another quick lesson. And inspired off of the book of Sirach, all right, and pretty much dealing with, having a good name, okay? And when you read, matter of fact, without further ado, we're just going to get right into it, okay? But let's grab Sirach chapter 7 and verse 1, and it reads, not Sirach, I think it's Ecclesiastes. Right. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 7 and verse 1, and it reads, "A good name is better than precious ointment, and the day of death than the day of one's birth." Okay? And let's read that real quick in the NOT. All right. Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 1 in the NOT, and it reads, "A good reputation is more valuable than costly perfume, and the day you die is better than the day you are born." Okay, but what I wanted to focus on is where it talks about a good name, okay? And when you go into that, it's really going into what? Having a good reputation, okay? Because your name, okay, carries on along with your reputation, right? And, this is just something I took out of the book of Sirach, and really just dealing with, being among the brotherhood, as well as even within this this society, just basically just dealing with, carrying yourself correct, right? Because of course, like the Lord even said himself, be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove, right? And pretty much dealing with, just having the correct conduct, okay? Because like Paul said himself too, right? Let's get 1 Peter chapter 2. 1 Peter chapter 2, and jumping down to verse 11, and it reads, "Dearly beloved, I beseech you as strangers and pilgrims, abstain from fleshly lusts which war against the soul," right? And that's a part of also repenting, right? Putting off the old man, okay? Verse 12, "Having your conversation honest among the Gentiles, that whereas they speak against you as evildoers, they may by your good works, which they shall behold, glorify the Most High in the day of visitation." Okay? So we're already among these people, okay? And the scriptures say, "He that departeth from evil, make himself a prey." All right? So these people already look at us as crazy, the people that might see you out there on the highways and byways, okay, for believing in what you believe in, okay? Even your own family members and people in your own household, all right, for believing in what you believe in, they look at you as crazy, right? Speaking of you as an evildoer, okay? Not understanding that in all actuality, okay, you're serving the true and living power, okay, in truth and in sincerity, right? We're basically just dealing with where it says, let's read the NLT verse 12. "Be careful to live properly among your unbelieving neighbors," right? And, dealing with these other Israelites that don't believe. "Then even if they accuse you of doing wrong, they will see your honorable behavior, and they will give honor to the Most High when He judges the world," right? Okay? So you moving correct, okay? You carrying yourself, not being rash in different situations, okay? Scriptures also say another thing that came to my mind is roughly paraphrasing, it says in Proverbs, I think, but it says, "A foolish man's wrath is easily seen," right? So little things that might tick you off, and now you looking crazy because you're mad or doing something, or it could be on a job site, and you're doing something that might come off foolish, okay? Though you were mad, but now what? Now you're looking like looking like a fool among these people, right? Because you weren't, you didn't control yourself, okay? And the scriptures also say too in the book of Proverbs, it's a classic precept brothers always bring out. He that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that's broken down and without walls, okay? So you want to have self-control in different situations as we're out here in this society, right? Salakia. So you don't want little things to throw you off, okay? Definitely not allowing, people or these unbelievers, these wicked individuals to make you mad, okay? Or throw you off your square in any way, shape, or form, you know? If anything, let them be the ones being thrown off because you so self-composed and you know, you got self-control, right? To where you're not letting anything bother you, okay? Let them be the ones that overreact, right? But just using that as an example, um, not that is that's what happens often, to brothers, but just using that as an example, right? Or it could be any many different things, right? But so from here, let's go to Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 1, and it reads, "A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor than silver and gold." Okay, in the NLT it also says, "Choose a good reputation over great riches." Okay, so basically the point I'm trying to drive, or the point I'm driving home is basically having a good reputation. Okay, and having a good reputation is what consists of how you live, how you carry yourself. Okay, even how you handle your affairs and different things like that, right? That all adds, to your reputation. Okay, even among the Akim, right? You don't want to be a brother that, say for example, you always have to ask to borrow money, but then when brothers ask you or ask you about the money that you're supposed to pay back, you're always the one who's never paying back on time, right? You might owe 3 different people money that you haven't paid back for over 3 weeks, right, to a month. Okay, and once again, just throwing this out, just using it as an example, but those are different things that can lead to you having a bad reputation. And not saying that brothers are going to cash you off or anything like that, right? But just different things like that, dealing honest among one another, okay? Because like the next precept I'm gonna bring out, right? Let's get this real quick. Sirach chapter 4 and verse 7, and it reads, "Get thyself the love of the congregation, and bow thy head to a great man." Okay, so it said, "Get thyself the love of the congregation," and how you do that is what? By being an honest individual, right, among the Akim. Being somebody that brothers can trust in different in different situations. And that's all. Once again, that's all a part of having a good reputation. Okay, not just in this world, but even among the Akim, right? Is different individuals that brothers know of. That he's always the guy that's getting God on. He's always the guy that is in a jam. Okay, he's always needed help, right? Well, we don't want to be like that. You want to get yourself the love of the congregation. Okay, different things. Being on top of your stuff, not being a burden to the body. Okay, being charitable. Transparent, right? And many different aspects and characteristics that will get you the or will allow you to have a good reputation. From here, let's go to the book of Proverbs chapter 10 and verse 7, and it reads, "The memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall rot." Right, the memory of the just is blessed. Okay, and dealing with on another level, dealing with the greater men that came before us. Okay, every time you hear them being spoke about, you hear them being spoken of in a good light. Okay, the elders of our elders, right? And even the elders that are still alive teaching, okay? You know, but what? It's because of how they conduct themselves, you know, living, among each other, okay? Of course, walking in, living according to the words, okay, and what the scriptures say to do, okay? Simply applying what the scriptures say to do to the best of our ability, right? Applying what the scriptures tell you to do. You know, how to live, how to conduct yourself, how to live among each other, and how to deal with one another, okay? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, you're pleasing Yahweh Bashim El Shah, and in turn, which in turn will give you praise among men, right? And once again, not saying this in a way to where that's what we're trying to do is get the praise of men, okay? But in turn, overall, okay, hey, you know, the apostles have been in this thing a long time, okay, and they deserve that praise, right, for their work and their effort, you know, that they put in, okay? So, but from here, let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 41 and verse 12, and it reads, Sirach chapter 41 and verse 12, have regard to thy name, for thou shalt continue with thee above 1,000 great treasures of gold. Okay? So you got to have regard to your name, okay? You know? And once again, you know, the different ways that I just mentioned, okay, once again, simply applying what the scriptures say, all right, and dealing in honesty among one another, okay, is how you have regard to your name, okay? Let's also read the GNT real quick. Sirach chapter 41 and verse 12. Sirach chapter 41 and verse 12, and it reads, protect your reputation, it will outlive you and last longer than 1,000 treasures of gold. Okay? Protect your reputation. So basically, hey, you know, don't allow yourself to slip up, right? Or should I say, because of course being in this flesh you're gonna slip up, right? But what I'm saying is, don't allow, you know, these people, okay, or different things out here cause you to slip up, okay, to where now you're not thinking according to wisdom, okay, and now you're not these scriptures aren't coming to your mind, but you're acting rational off emotion, right? You know, now you're at fault in different situations because you weren't using your mind, okay? So basically, you know, yeah, I think that was the point, you know, just basically dealing with that. You know, just something I came across and I thought I'd do a lesson on it. And Lord willing, it's edifying, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakudash. Double honors unto the elders and the apostles, the great millstone who rule well and teach well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to all you walking throughout the four corners of the earth, continuing to push and do the works in truth and in sincerity. Shalom.